Hey everyone, welcome back. So, the Foco Photography Fellowship Program supports photographers of color who demonstrate the highest quality of work. And our next guest is one of the 10 Foco Fellowship winners of this year. She is an Ecuadorian American multidisciplinary artist whose work centers queer, trans, and non-conforming people of color with a styling of conveying panache and self-preservation, celebrating the nuances of identity at the intersection of gender, race, and culture. Joining us to share more, please welcome multidisciplinary artist and a 2023 Foco Fellowship winner, Àngel. Añazco. Hello and welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. Congratulations, first and foremost.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Your work is really a sight for sore eyes. Ba-dum-bum.
That's the plan. That's the goal.
It really is, though. It's definitely engaging, and it speaks volumes to really connecting to not only your identity but your ancestry.
Yes.
And then there's this other aspect to it. I know we're going to be showing some of your clips in which, for what it represented to me, and as you know, my interpretation is like this means of self rediscovery.
Yes. So the series is called Renacimiento, which is the series that I applied with for the Foco Fellowship. And it really was a process of about 2 years where initially I went back home to Ecuador and visited. And when I came back, I really delved deep into researching my Andean ancestry. And what I really found was that a lot of Andean in pre-colonial times, they respected and looked at androgynous and third gender people as guides, as people with wisdom and knowledge. And so that kind of like rung a bell in me because at that point I was still identifying a different way. And so having that kind of gave me...
When you say identifying a different way, what exactly do you mean by that?
I was identifying like with the body I was born. And so at the time, it kind of, seeing that my ancestors also were going through what I went through,
right,
it gave me some sort of like validation to kind of look more into that journey. And so this series of painting is kind of what propelled that forward. I initially started it in the beginning of the pandemic. You know, we had a lot of time to like think for ourselves finally. And so that kind of was almost like a therapeutic process for me to just really imagine a future where I was who I was in the mirror.
Yeah, well, it definitely represents spirituality, right?
Yes.
And a lot of colors. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I really enjoyed just visiting what was presented to me. And I wondered in your process, like how you found these individuals and how you were able to replicate it, or you don't have to give your secrets away.
No, well, there's a process for sure.
Okay.
Initially, it comes with like a sketch or an idea, and then I photograph kind of pieces to reference. And so with these pieces, I then go into my programs like Photoshop, and I kind of start painting and drawing and really like expanding the vision, if that makes sense. I really wanted it to come off not just as a photograph, but kind of like a finished, like hyper-realistic vision of the future.
Almost like a hologram.
Yeah, and that's the point. I want to use technology to allow this to come into fruition because we don't have those visions. We don't have a lot of Andean representation at all. And so I wanted to kind of use that as a way to propel that, and Foco kind of gave me that opportunity now to have an exhibition coming up. So that's part of like representation of visibility as well.
And so in all the work that you've done, right, because I mean, you've worked with some pretty big time names such as Time, Allure, High Snobiety, what is it?
High Snobiety.
High Snobiety. I'm not familiar with that one, but it sounds important. Paper Magazine. And I'm just naming a few. And here you won this this fellowship. What's the difference between working for a client and doing your own? Obviously, there's a certain level of freedom, but I just wonder how much of your style is implemented into what you're hired for.
Well, so this August actually is my 10 years in New York. And when I initially came, I just wanted to be a photographer. And I tried the commercial photography for a while, but I realized I wanted to use tools such as painting, photography, and modeling as well to expand that representation. And so when I'm modeling or I'm doing content for brands such as the ones you've listed, it's part of my mission statement. It's also kind of like the same process of me thinking, how am I going to use my platform to continue this visibility of someone who's trans and Andean that you don't really see out in the world. So it's all part of my same mission statement.
And so I know we're here to talk about your photography, but I did see something with you on Netflix.
Yes. 2 years ago, I filmed during the pandemic this series where they were looking for a female point of view of sexuality, which is, missing because a lot of it is run by men and it's through the eyes of the male gaze. And so it was a really interesting part to be a part of, and you can catch it on Netflix. It's called The Principles of Pleasure. And I was among the few to represent trans and androgynous people.
Right, and it sounded rather liberating. I didn't get to see the whole thing, but I saw clips of it. I said, oh my gosh, this is a wonderful topic.
Yeah.
And it also contributes to everything that you're presenting. And
Yes.
Even with your photography, I do have to ask, though, like, where do you get this wardrobe?
I mean, a lot of it is just kind of things I've thrifted and things that I've like kind of come
So
up.
you style it, too?
Well, I style things and then I also just kind of like draw. I maybe have like a black dress, but then in Photoshop, I'll add things to it. I'll add shoulders, I'll add like color and texture.
Right.
Because, we don't have, or at least, I don't know, I feel like the photo industry is very exclusive and it's very privileged. You need to have money to be in it. But I don't want to that to not allow me to continue it. So I use like my imagination to paint that vision of what I would do if I had the money, because one day I will if this traction keeps going.
So I always say to everyone, anything that's been created during this time period is really going to hold a different level of value 100 years from now. What do you hope people take away from your experience of really, I guess, conveying it not solely in photography, but not solely about your identity and your culture, but there's this other artistry. It's very unique, and you guys have to experience it because I'm talking about it. I know we showed some clips of it, but I'm seeing like 100 years from now, somebody doesn't know anything about you, right? They come across your photos. What do you hope that they're picking up and they're taking with them as a message?
Yeah, well, I think you said it best first. I want them to be almost struck by that dramatic lighting, the colors, the vibrant colors. And so this is my first piece from Renacimiento, the whole series. And I really want it to be eye-catching at first because that's kind of the initial point of contact from the audience.
Right.
They don't really know the concept behind things. They don't know what it's about. So as long as it's eye-catching, and that's kind of like my first get-go, and then once they sit with the piece, I want them to kind of think, why is this person sitting in this way? What's the location like? And really think about their place within this world.
All right, and the other thing I'm picking up is, aside from them looking like superheroes, the elements are represented as well.
Yes.
One was in the sky,
Yeah.
water,
Yeah.
earth.
Yeah, which was really important to my Andean ancestors. This connection, the Andean way of life, is a lot about our connection to Mama Pacha, which is Mother Earth. And so I think we kind of forget that a lot, and we get lost in the hustle of New York and everything. And so I wanted to kind of bring it back to basics, but in a way it's traditional, but also a vision of the future. It's kind of that mix.
I'm feeling it. I'm picking it up. I'm trying to assess it. Yeah, only because I think if there's anything that the pandemic taught us,
Yeah.
is the importance of breathing fresh air.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
And during that period of time, our best time spent was in the parks, connecting to nature.
Yeah, there was a lot of like being stuck at home, and so doing these paintings really allowed me to just like get out of my head for a bit and really just think for myself, because in this society I just really felt conditioned to be like everybody else, and the pandemic really allowed me, and also this series, to just think for myself, which I think is important for everybody to do.
So where can these images be seen on display? Are they also going to be part of Nueva Luz, the magazine?
Yes, so I'm planning to do that. One of the pieces called En las Nubes was just on display from October to December at NYU, and the upcoming exhibition is on May 18th, which will be all 10 of us, the 10 winners of Foco, and which you will be able to see one of my pieces from the collection.
And where's that going to be?
It's going to be in the Bronx as well, at WeWorks Gallery.
At WeWorks Gallery. Wonderful. We look forward to having more of you on as we get closer to that exhibition.
Of course,
But
hope
we
to see you there.
Thank
Yes.
you for being here and and sharing your truth. It's really greatly and deeply appreciated.
Thank you.
All right, you guys, once again, Angel Añazco, a multidisciplinary artist and 2023 Foco Fellowship winner. For more information on Foco Photography Fellowship Program, you can visit infoco.org/fellowship. And for more on Angel, you can visit angelañazco.com.